Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Oh,
Today, we're going to be tackling Robert Kiyosaki,
okay.
the businessman and author who really got people thinking differently about money
Mm-hmm.
with his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
We've got a whole stack of sources here, articles, interviews, you name it,
Wow.
and our mission to figure out what exactly Kiyosaki means by wealth
Interesting.
and how it goes against the grain
Yeah.
of what we usually think about when we hear that word.
Yeah, it's definitely a thought-provoking perspective for sure.
Hmm.
I mean, most people think a big bank balance, right?
Right.
But Kiyosaki, he challenges that.
Yeah. The NASDAQ article we've got really dives into his core argument.
Okay.
It's not just about having money, it's about something more.
It is, yeah.
What's the word? Fundamental.
Yeah, he really digs into the idea of financial freedom
Okay.
and uses a powerful example to illustrate his point.
Okay.
The story of Ed McMahon.
Oh, Ed McMahon. Johnny Carson's sidekick?
Exactly, but here's Johnny.
Yeah.
McMahon was reportedly earning around $5 million annually.
Yeah.
Yet he faced foreclosure later in life
Oh, no.
and actually died with a negative net worth.
Wait, seriously, $5 million a year and he ended up in debt.
Yep.
That completely flips the script on the idea that more money equals more wealth.
It does.
Okay, you've got my attention.
It really highlights the central role of mindset in Kiyosaki's philosophy.
Okay.
He's saying money itself isn't the answer.
Got it.
It's how you think about it and what you do with it.
So it's not just about accumulating wealth, but understanding the power and the potential of it?
Precisely. Kiyosaki believes financial freedom is about having the means to live life on your own terms, pursuing your passions without constantly worrying about money.
Yeah, so it's not about being a millionaire. It's about the freedom that $1 million could potentially give you.
Think of it as the ability to make choices that are truly aligned with your values and goals,
Yeah.
not just what your bank balance allows.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
In Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he draws a distinction between traditional retirement goals and true financial freedom.
Yes.
Can you remind me what that is again?
Of course, traditional retirement usually means having enough saved up to cover your expenses.
Right.
But it often involves scaling back your lifestyle, maybe downsizing your home, giving up hobbies, cutting back on travel.
Right. It's like you're working your whole life so you can finally afford to do less.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound very freeing, does it?
exactly. And that's where Kiyosaki diverges.
Okay.
He says, true financial freedom lets you maintain your lifestyle
Okay.
and make choices based on what you want, not what you can afford.
I see. So instead of just surviving, you're thriving, regardless of whether you're working or retired.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
about having options and not being bound by financial constraints.
You know what I find really interesting is that Kiyosaki's definition of being rich
Hmm?
makes the whole concept subjective.
It does, yeah.
It becomes less about a specific number and more about individual aspirations and choices.
It's a great point. And the article we've got uses some really compelling examples to illustrate this.
Okay.
For one person, being rich might simply mean being able to order takeout once a week without feeling guilty.
Whereas for someone else, it could be about owning a small home, but having the freedom to take lavish vacations every year.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that feels abundant to you, regardless of how it looks to anyone else.
That really reframes the whole idea of wealth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not about fitting into some predetermined mold of what a rich person should be. It's about aligning your financial choices with what truly matters to you.
And that ties directly back to the mindset piece. It's about shifting from a scarcity mentality to one of abundance,
Okay.
believing that there are enough resources and opportunities out there for you to achieve your goals.
So instead of thinking, I can't afford this, you're focused on how can I make this happen?
That's the essence of it. It's about feeling empowered to shape your financial future, not just react to it. And believing that you can create a life of true abundance, whatever that may look like for you.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about proactively building the life you want rather than waiting for things to happen.
So how do we actually put this abundance mentality into action? What does Kiyosaki recommend we do to achieve this financial freedom?
He suggests a different approach than the traditional advice of work hard, save money, invest conservatively.
Because that path often just leads to traditional retirement, not the true financial freedom that Kiyosaki talks about.
Exactly. Kiyosaki argues that relying solely on earned income, your job, can actually be a trap.
A trap. Why? Most of us depend on our jobs to pay the bills.
Of course, that's how our system works, but Kiyosaki's point is that relying only on a job keeps you stuck trading your time for money.
Okay.
It limits how much you can earn and how much control you have over your life.
I see. So it's like you're always on a treadmill working just to keep up.
That's a great way to put it. He emphasizes building assets instead,
Okay.
things that generate income without requiring you to constantly work for it.
Okay, this is ringing a bell. Is this where the rich dad and poor dad philosophies come in?
Absolutely. It's a core concept from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Kiyosaki compares the financial habits of his own father, the poor dad, to those of his friend's father, the rich dad.
I remember. The poor dad represents the traditional path. Get a good education, get a secure job, work hard, save for retirement.
Right. While the rich dad was all about creating businesses, investing in things like real estate, and building passive income streams.
So that even when you're not actively working, those income streams continue generating wealth.
Exactly. For Kiyosaki, it's not about how much money you have sitting in your bank account today. It's about having assets that work for you.
He calls it creating your own money machine, right? That's how you achieve the freedom to live life on your own terms.
That's the idea. And it's important to remember that this doesn't necessarily mean ditching your job and lounging on a beach all day.
Right. It's not about being lazy.
It's about having the financial resources and the flexibility to pursue whatever is truly meaningful to you.
Maybe that's starting a business, traveling the world, pursuing a creative passion, or just spending more quality time with your loved ones.
Exactly. The key is having the freedom to design a life that aligns with your values and priorities.
I'm starting to get why Kiyosaki's ideas resonated with so many people.
Mm.
It's a message that speaks to a deep desire for more control and autonomy.
Mm.
It's empowering.
It really is. And it's important to note that it's not about accumulating wealth just for the sake of it.
It's about using wealth as a tool to create a life of purpose and meaning. Okay, so we've talked about mindset and building assets and creating passive income.
Right.
But there's one big question that's still on my mind.
And that is?
How much money do you actually need to be considered rich in Kiyosaki's view?
Huh.
Because he uses terms like financial freedom and being rich,
Yeah,
but it all seems so relative
you're right. It is relative. And that's what makes Kiyosaki's definition so interesting.
because it's not about a specific dollar amount.
No, it's not about hitting some magic number in your net worth.
So how do you measure wealth in Kiyosaki's world?
He defines it in terms of passive income.
So the money your assets are generating without you actively working.
Exactly. Kiyosaki argues that you achieve true wealth when your passive income exceeds your expenses.
So you're essentially making more money from your assets than you need to spend to live your life.
Right. At that point, you've reached financial freedom in Kiyosaki's eyes.
Because you're no longer reliant on a job or any other active income source. Your money machine is taking care of you.
It's a powerful concept, isn't it?
It is. It really challenges the traditional idea of focusing just on how much money you have in the bank.
And it highlights the importance of strategically building assets and creating sustainable income streams.
Okay, so let's say we're on board with Kiyosaki's philosophy. We're working on building our money machine, creating those passive income streams, and aiming for the point where our passive income surpasses our expenses.
That's a fantastic goal.
But how do we know what those expenses will be in the future? Life is unpredictable and things change. How do we plan for that?
That's where the idea of lifestyle design comes in.
Lifestyle design, what does that mean?
It's about intentionally creating a life that aligns with your values and aspirations.
So instead of just letting life happen to you, you actively shape it.
Exactly. And a big part of this is designing a lifestyle that's financially sustainable.
So figuring out how much money you actually need to live the life you want.
Yes. Kiyosaki stresses the importance of being mindful of your spending habits and making choices that support your long-term financial goals.
So that doesn't mean living a life of deprivation though, right?
Not at all. It's not about austerity.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional and making sure your spending reflects your values.
So if travel is a top priority, you might choose to live in a smaller home or drive a less expensive car to free up more money for adventures.
That's a great example. It's about making choices that allow you to create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
And that might look very different for each person depending on their priorities.
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to lifestyle design. It's about creating something that's uniquely yours and, importantly, financially sustainable.
I really like this idea. It takes the focus off chasing some arbitrary number and puts it back on building a life that feels meaningful.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's what Kiyosaki's definition of wealth is all about.
It's not just a financial state, it's a state of mind. Okay, you've convinced me. I'm ready to start building my own money machine and designing a life of freedom.
I love that enthusiasm. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that Kiyosaki emphasizes.
Oh, what's that?
It's the importance of continuous learning and personal growth.
Ah, yes. The rich dad was a big advocate for education, but not always in the traditional sense.
Right. Kiyosaki believes that true wealth requires more than just financial literacy. It requires a commitment to expanding your knowledge, learning new skills, and always challenging yourself to grow.
So it's not about building a money machine and then just kicking back and relaxing.
Not at all. It's about constantly investing in yourself and expanding your capabilities.
That makes sense. The world is always changing, and we need to adapt and evolve along with it.
Exactly. And this is where the mindset we talked about earlier comes back into play.
Oh, right.
Ooh.
Everything seems to circle back to mindset.
It's about cultivating a growth mindset, embracing challenges as opportunities to learn, and never stopping the pursuit of knowledge.
So even when we reach a certain level of financial freedom, the journey doesn't end there.
It's an ongoing pursuit of learning growth and creating a life that's both financially secure and deeply fulfilling.
I love that. It makes me realize that being rich, in Kiyosaki's sense, isn't just a destination.
It's a continuous journey,
It's about the mindset we cultivate, the skills we develop, and the choices we make every single day.
and it's about using our resources, both financial and intellectual, to create a life that's truly aligned with our values and purpose.
Wow. I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've unpacked Kiyosaki's unique definition of wealth, explored his strategies for achieving financial freedom, and even touched on the importance of lifestyle design and continuous learning.
It's been a fascinating deep dive into the world of Robert Kiyosaki, for sure.
And I think it's given us all a lot to think about.
It certainly has.
Yeah.
So, as we start to wrap up our exploration of Kiyosaki's ideas, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question.
I'm ready. Hit me with it.
If wealth, as Kiyosaki defines it, is truly about freedom, control over your life, and the ability to pursue your passions without constantly worrying about money,
Yes.
what steps can you take today to start building the mindset and habits that support this vision?
That is a great question. What can we do right now to start moving towards that type of financial freedom?
It's something to really consider as we move forward.
It's a journey worth embarking on.
It certainly is.
Yeah, it might mean taking a closer look at our spending habits,
Mm-hmm.
Finding areas where we can cut back without giving up the things that are really important to us.
Yeah, or maybe it's about exploring some new income-generating opportunities, even small ones, just to get those passive income streams flowing like Kiyosaki talks about.
Right. Or maybe just actively working on changing our mindset,
Yeah.
embracing that abundance mentality that lets us see possibilities instead of roadblocks.
I think the real key is to just start taking action,
Yeah.
even if it's just baby steps toward creating the financial future we want.
What I find so inspiring about Kiyosaki's message is that it gives us the power to take control.
Yeah.
We're not just along for the ride when it comes to our money.
It reminds us that we have choices.
Right, yeah.
We can build assets, create income, and design a life that really shows who we are and what we value.
That's a message worth sharing.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening,
Yeah.
keep exploring these ideas, keep learning, and keep building the financial future you deserve.
And remember, true wealth isn't just about a number in your bank account. It's about the freedom and the peace of mind that comes with knowing you're in control of your financial future.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the world of Robert Kiyosaki. We hope you found it insightful
Yeah.
and maybe even got a little inspired.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep questioning everything